It has the country's only service, which specializes in acute radiation sickness and illnesses linked to massive doses of radiation exposure. The initial symptoms of radiation sicknesses, vomiting, nausea, and diarrhea, are followed by latency period. It's only later that much more fatal symptoms appear, such as deterioration of bone marrow and horrible burns that eat flesh down to the bone. On the 1st of May, the wind shifts, and areas of Kiev are also contaminated. By going ahead with May Day festivities, it was like the country refused to acknowledge the situation. 6 days after the accident, despite radiation levels several thousand times higher than normal, authorities encourage people to participate in May Day celebrations, even in areas they know to be seriously contaminated. Disturbingly, all footages of May Day 1986 have now disappeared from Ukrainian National Archives. The inhabitants of the city of Chernobyl, 7 kilometers from the plant, are evacuated, so all the villages within a 30-kilometer radius around the plant. A 300,000 hectare area straddling the Ukraine and Belarus is abruptly evacuated and isolated from the rest of the world. Meanwhile, the radioactive continues to climb. 6,000 tons of sand and boric acid have filled the hole, but underneath this gigantic gap, the white hot magma continues to smolder.
On May the 12th, 1986, 17 days after the initial explosion, the miners of Tula, 1,000 kilometers from Chernobyl, receive a visit from the Deputy Minister of the Mining Industry. Their mission: to approach water to the reactor to create a cooling system underground. In 1 month, 10,000 miners from Russia and the mining regions of Ukraine are set down into the tunnel. In 1 month and 4 days, they dig a 150-meter tunnel. Radioactivity at the mouth of the tunnel was 300 times higher than inside it. Not once they are informed of the real dangers they're facing. The miners accomplish their mission, but the cooling system is never set up below the reactor.
It is of the utmost urgency to cover the broken structure and clean up the zone, but for that more men will be needed. In 1 year, 100,000 soldiers and officers passed through Chernobyl. Their mission: clean up, liquidate the radioactivity. From the sky, helicopters drop tons of sticky liquid dubbed purba, a coagulative mixture that plasters the radioactive dust to the ground. Meanwhile, brigades of liquidators are put in charge of cleaning up the zone and removing the radioactive dust that covers everything. Special hunting squads patrol the countryside and forest with rifles, killing cats and dogs. All the animals have to be killed because their fur soaks up the radioactivity.
Eight weeks after the explosion, the liquidators tackled the heart of the problem. In order to neutralize the toxic waste and prevent it from spreading even more, the entire blown-up reactor has to be isolated. A sarcophagus of steel and concrete, 170 meters long and 66 meters high, will entirely cover the fourth reactor. It was one of a kind and unique project. No one had ever built such a structure in a zone this radioactive.
It has now been more than 12 weeks since the initial blast at block number 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Radioactivity in this sector is so high that only remote control machines can be sent in. But people will have to get the machines into position. Workers can only stay a few minutes without receiving a fatal dose of radiation. Despite extreme conditions, work progresses. But the discovery of new problem forces the work to halt. The roof of the plant is covered in highly contaminated pieces of graphite. These pieces of graphite envelop uranium rods. They had been blown from the reactor during the explosion. One single piece gives off radioactivity to kill a man in less than 1 hour. They have to get rid of it before the construction continues. Robots are sent onto the roof to shove the lethal debris over the edge. But after a few days, the ambient radioactivity begins to affect even machines. On the roof, robotic machines are no longer an option. Men will have to replace them. The Russian soldiers nicknamed bio-robots. Their mission? Shovel up the radioactive debris as quickly as possible and throw it off the roof. For 10 days, a new crew of bio-robots climbs on the roof every 10 minutes. According to military personnel, 3,500 people participate in the cleanup.
7 months after the explosion, the zone has been cleaned up and the sarcophagus completed. 50,000 people, military and civilians, have participated in the operation. It costs 18 billion rubles. At that time, a ruble was worth $1.
For the hundreds of thousands of